The Edmonton Oil Kings are finding a...
That's right, guys. It's been an exciting weekend.
I'm sorry to say, we are absolutely going to...
City of Edmonton and the National...
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of NAIT NewsWatch.
We are so excited to share some of our most favorite and most captivating stories we've worked on throughout the year. For instance, Cavell, our lovely Cavell Clark, what's been your favorite story to work on so far this semester?
It has to be this next one that I'm going to share with you guys, and you'll see just why. With an overwhelming number of new incidences each day, what was once a necessity for some has become a last resort. As transit crimes rise, ETS riders are more anxious, afraid, and concerned about the government's efforts to restore order and improve public safety. Viewers' discretion is advised, as some images may be disturbing. It's a typical Wednesday, and the route from this bus stop to school is Maria's daily routine as a NAIT student. However, after her assault in February, the commute she once enjoyed is now her biggest fear.
When she punched me, I felt my face because there's like blood dripping down on my face, like on my hand.
Maria says the woman repeatedly asked for money and violently attacked her after she politely declined. The assault happened fast, leaving Maria in shock, pain, and desperate for help.
I ran, and there's like people on that side, and said like, help me. And there's like two guys there, and one guy, they didn't really care that much, but one guy gave me a napkin, like, because my face was bleeding a lot. Despite a swollen and bruised face, Maria is grateful it wasn't worse. But she is not the only transit crime victim. Doug Hollowuck rides the train starting at Belvedere Station to University Station in order to get his medications. But this time, he's in for the fight of his life, literally.
And the boy attacked me and knocked out my one tooth, and I had him like this. When I threw the girl off to the side, her hair got caught in my finger and wrecked all the ligaments are torn in my finger. According to provincial officials, the LRT crime activities have increased in the province. For Edmonton, there is an increase by 75%, and for Calgary, there is an increase by 46%. As it relates to an increase, when it comes on to service police being dispatched to these transit centers, there is also an increase in 2022. For Edmonton, the increase is by 52.8%, and for Calgary, there's been an increase of 39%. In addition to boosting street-level police, government official is urging Calgary and Edmonton to shift transit peace officers' command and control to their police services in order to tackle transit crime. Edmonton's local transit union, however, disagrees with this approach.
The reality is that we have 36 transit security dispatchers who know transit, who know all of the right people to call in transit to get the people they need on the spot really quickly. Transferring that to some sort of centralized dispatch system is not going to help. It's going to make response times longer. According to EPS, a person is twice as likely to be attacked randomly at a transit center than elsewhere in the city, and transit operators are no exception.
There's been threats before, but this is the first time it was ever physical. I've come to terms that the job has become more unsafe. You gotta take a look around, and you gotta watch for the people around you too.
The city's fight against transit crime continues with a bystander awareness campaign and increasing peace and police officers' presence. As for Maria, she's thinking about making some life changes if the safety issue continues.
I've been thinking about it because you need to have a vehicle to get to places, but ever since the attack, I feel I've been thinking about it's more of really a safety reason now.
April is World Autism Month. Although life with autism has its challenges, autistic people are capable of so much more than we think. Some autistic Canadians are independent and have gone on to do amazing things. A new bill was passed to support autistic Canadians, their families, and their caregivers with areas such as employment, diagnosis, and future planning.
Anthony Gerald Hall has autism. He's been going to this coffee shop every day for the past 14 years, and he's never missed a day in his routine. He was diagnosed 25 years ago and loves socializing, but he has his challenges.
With autism, I shake, I go back and forth in my seat, and it's hard to communicate and talk with people. And people don't understand that it's hard to communicate and it's hard to keep still.
A bill supporting autistic Canadians, their families, and their caregivers was passed in the House of Commons at the end of March.
It passed with all members from all sides of the House agreeing that it needed to be expedited, needed to be passed quickly, and it was, you don't see that coming together very often, so it's kind of a recognition of the importance of the issue.
Autistic Canadians need support in areas such as employment. 85% of people with autism are not employed in Canada. 14% of autistic adults are employed, while over 90% of the general population are employed.
I have a son right now that's 27 years old with autism, fairly significantly affected. His name's Jaden. And, when you think about help that's needed, first early diagnosis is absolutely critical. And some people get diagnosed a little bit later in life.
Jaden was diagnosed when he was 2. Children can be diagnosed as young as 18 months old with the diagnosis options currently available.
So it's such a wide range, especially for older individuals or females who often get overlooked. Because back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the diagnosis options weren't as thorough as they are now.
The bill also assures parents of autistic children their children will be cared for into their senior years.
Suddenly both of their parents are gone in a short time frame. That's sort of, those are the people most attuned to the routine and the need, in a sense.
Honorable Mike Lake said autistic people are more capable than we give them credit for. The community at Autism Edmonton created this sign out of photos.
I go to the program to better myself and be with other people like me.
An autistic man who used to go to Autism Edmonton for services donated his collection of books about autism shortly before his passing in hopes others would use them as resources.
This one is called Carly's Voice, that was written by a nonverbal woman who's on the spectrum.
You always take it one day at a time and live life the fullest as you can.
Autism Edmonton has many resources to support autistic Canadians and their families. Information to learn more about autism and have peer discussion groups going on throughout the month to raise awareness and educate. To find events, go to autismedmonton.org. I'm Nora Mohammed, NAIT NewsWatch Extra.
Artificial intelligence, from Amazon Alexa all the way to robots being able to do flips and interact with people. Safe to say AI has come a long way. And I've got to admit, it makes me kind of nervous for our future.
I agree, Becca. AI advancements keep leaping forward, and it's leaving us to wonder where it's headed. One of our reporters went out into the field to find out whether or not we should be worried about AI. Hey Siri, take us to our Tristan Watershed with more on this story.
Thanks, guys. I'm actually standing right outside of AMI headquarters, which is Edmonton's leading research team in artificial intelligence. Now, they just went through some pretty big renovations as of recently, which was funded directly by the Alberta government. Artificial intelligence is on the rise, and it's safe to say that it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Before 1980, artificial intelligence was far from everyone's minds. Then came the AI boom. Now people have access to AI wherever they go.
This week, the weather will start out with rain, then cloudy skies.
In the 21st century, we've seen a ton of advancements in AI, with the most recent one being ChatGPT, being able to write resumes, breakup texts, and even whole essays for people. And some feel like this may lead to jobs being replaced by AI, and some already have.
Medical transcription is writing out doctor's notes that they record audio of their notes, and a transcriptionist would just write that down. A lot of the talk throughout the program was that every few years you'd probably get fired or let go because everybody would think that robots could do the job better than people.
With jobs being lost, it's hard not to wonder why AI research continues. And in Edmonton, there have been some pushes for further advancements to be made. More specifically, in the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, otherwise known as AMI.
Now, I wish I could say that I was actually a scientist working here to further AI research, but I'm really not. Now, the people here at AMI, these are the real researchers working towards furthering AI advancement. And after receiving over $30 million from the Alberta government, they're looking at expanding their team even further, meaning that there might actually be a shot to have a real-life Jarvis.
As cool as having an artificially intelligent butler would be, it's hard to say if it's realistic or not. How far have we really come with AI anyways?
We have accomplished many things with AI. In the healthcare part, we can see AI aiding doctors, and only through looking, for instance, on people's eyes that we can detect some disease, and there are many other examples on that. And you can see the same on other fields where AI is collaborating and helping advancing technology in general.
Future AI depictions in movies drives people's fear for where artificial intelligence is headed. Movies like Terminator and I, Robot depict AI in a negative way. Even researchers are a bit fearful of where this technology is headed.
AI is powerful now, and AI has come to a level that it can very well mimic humans, and that by itself does pose a threat to democracies around the world. So we need to be aware of that. We should not only invest in AI, but also should invest in the policies and guidelines.
Although we're years away, there's a valid fear to be had with AI.
I don't think we're anywhere close to it right now, but in the future, I could see it potentially improving.
Tristan Mottershed, NAIT NewsWatch Extra.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch.
Esports has become a supernova of popularity over the past few years, and the Alberta Esports Expo has begun to open the eyes of Albertans and Edmontonians to the sport. Colleges and universities are expanding their reach and bringing in a new age for gaming in not only our city, but also in our province. Thankfully, I had the chance to take a dive into the pro gaming world of esports. You hear the crowds cheering your team as you hear keyboard clicks all around you. Your eyes are focused on the monitor. Your heart starts to beat as the round is about to end, and then suddenly...
Sit with another. I don't know what to say.
This is esports, but it had never been represented in a space as big as this in Edmonton until now.
I think it's just people are finally finding their place. A lot of times we've heard that this community is generally in their basements or they're kind of hidden, but now we actually have a space for them to come, celebrate each other, play games that are actually familiar to them. So I wouldn't say that it's changed, it's just evolved. It's gotten bigger, it's growing in attention. So I'd say it's a positive growth thing that we have this space for it now.
With the help of the Alberta Esports Expo, the Edmonton esports community is using this event as a launch to showcase themselves to more eyes than ever.
I think that with a lot of parents, families wanting to get involved in the space, people are finally starting to see what it looks like, right? The excitement, the thrill, the joy. On top of that too, we wanted to highlight education. Schools offering stuff around like programs that are related to esports.
College esports has long dominated the competitive gaming scene here in Edmonton, with many colleges hosting tournaments, clubs, and even varsity teams.
We have tons of administrative buy-in. We're able to offer up to full tuition scholarships for all of our varsity athletes. We have a dedicated practice space. We have jerseys and gear like what I'm wearing right now, provided to us by our athletics department. But some of the challenges is now in recruitment, we're a smaller college, right? And how do you navigate the challenges of being a smaller college and recruiting, at a level far above where your college is kind of supposed to be because you're so ahead of the curve in esports development, right?
What many may think to be an awkward transition in order to be a proper college sport, many colleges are set on ensuring that their esports players get the same benefits as their athletes.
FGC stage with some guilty gear strive actions.
We have plans like
we don't only want like to go only in Northwest. We are planning to go at different venues and organize tournaments. Probably in the future, we're thinking we go intercultural competition in between colleges. If that's even a bigger thing, probably all over Canada.
Even with hurdles needing to be overcome, the college esports community is always looking to improve and create more events.
From first-person gaming and fighting games to indie hidden gems, esports in Alberta has made a real name for itself. And by the looks of it, it's here to stay. Becca Warak, NAIT NewsWatch Extra.
There's no question that Ukrainian culture thrives deep here in Edmonton. Music, dancing, and food are just some of the ways our city celebrates this rich heritage.
But given recent world tragedies that are still impacting Ukraine, this has severed the hearts of many people within our city. Our Mackenzie Mazinkowski has more.
Thanks, guys. I'm standing outside of Shumka, where Ukraine's rich culture is thriving through Canada's Shumka dancers. The preservation of this rich heritage has never been more important than it is today. Given the tragedies that are happening in Ukraine, this has impacted Shumka and the world as we know it. And Shumka is peacefully fighting back the only way they know how. Since 1959, Canada's Shumka dancers have valued the importance of preserving and sharing Ukrainian culture through dance. It's easily identified for its precise choreography and extremely energetic routines. This style of dance is a significant part of keeping their heritage alive.
We use different types of music. We obviously use traditional pieces of costuming that reflect different regions and areas in Ukraine, all in an effort to keep the culture alive in our contemporary world.
Shumka understands the importance of respecting the origins of traditional Ukrainian culture while also integrating contemporary expectations relevant for audiences today.
We use different forms of dance. We don't just stick with traditional Ukrainian dance. Sometimes we'll do more contemporary things, depending on the mood of the story that we're trying to tell or the moment that we're trying to create on stage.
Like Mosquito's wedding, the woman doesn't have to stay in that's very traditional Ukraine. The woman has to stay in the house and cook and clean and the man go out and work. And we swapped those around and we made sure that was, that's not the way it has to be. So we showed that it's not just always a male-female. We had two ladies in love as well on our stage. So we're trying to push those sorts of things as well and, make it so people can say, hey, it doesn't always have to be a man and a woman. There's two ladies in love.
By keeping up with today's audience expectations, Shumka makes it possible to keep their culture alive and share it with the largest audience they can. Given recent world events that have impacted Ukraine, Shumka is using dance as a way to fight back.
So it's been really tough being in Canada and seeing the war on TV and not being able to do anything to help. And I think a lot of us as dancers really feel that, and we want to do whatever we can to help. So continuing our culture here in Canada, touring and raising support from our friends and family and those here to send back to Ukraine, it makes so much of a difference, at least for us, and feeling that we're able to actually do something. Otherwise, there's a sense of feeling stuck.
For many years, Shumka has collaborated with their friends and family from their homeland, sharing costumes, stories, and memories. Never in their wildest dreams did they think that they would be dancing for their heritage to live on.
One of the dancers that was just here last year went off to war and was unfortunately killed. So, with him just being here just a year ago, like a year and a half ago, and working with him, and such a wonderful man. So, you worry about these people and these dancers that's not what they're trained to do. They're trained to be artists on stage and bring joy and happiness and feeling and emotion to the audience, having to go to war and do something they're not trained to do.
We are a lot closer as a family, as Shumka, try to support each other through hard times. A lot of us have friends and family in Ukraine, and at the very least, we've danced with a lot of dancers from Ukraine. These are all people that we've come to know and who are now fighting in the war. So it has had a big impact with us, but every rehearsal, at least for myself, I try to come in and not put it aside, but use that as like a remembrance, and we show our culture and who we are through our dance.
Shumka is fighting to keep Ukrainian culture ignited, and supporting one another is the most important thing they can do to continue the good fight. Mackenzie Mazankowski, NewsWatch Extra.
Coming up after the break, we'll explore one of the longest standing jazz clubs in Edmonton and learn what it takes to become a comedian.
Plus, Canada and Scotland battle for the Strathcona Cup, and we speak to the Ooks women's hockey head coach about his journey to get there.
Welcome back to NAIT NewsWatch. Edmonton has boasted a rich history in arts and culture from many different outlets over the years, such as our vibrant festivals, museums, concerts, and art galleries.
Absolutely. But one thing that might surprise people, though, is one of Canada's oldest running jazz clubs is right here in Big Miller Park. We're going to pass the mic to our own Cavell Clark to let us know what is coming up in this segment. Cavell.
Thanks, guys. We're about to explore the world of comedy, curling, hockey, and jazz. Jazz may not be your top genre of music, but this jazz club has lasted more than 6 decades here in our city. Our Sienna Shanansky has more on this story.
Thanks, guys. I'm here at Yardbird Suite, the hub of jazz in our capital city. Yardbird Suite is one of the longest surviving jazz clubs in Western Canada, where both local and international artists come to play from September to June. The well-loved Jazz Club hosts Thursday night shows and Tuesday night jam sessions. The venue also hosts events like the Fringe and the International Jazz Festival. Let's go check it out.
When you think about jazz, you probably think about swing jazz and swanky clubs while sipping cocktails. What a lot of people seem to forget, though, is that jazz originated in the African American communities of New Orleans, Louisiana in the late 19th century. Jazz was a combination of many different cultures brought together, but its origins date back to African American slaves on plantations singing work songs. Many early jazz musicians played in the bars and brothels of the red light district during the prohibitions, as it was illegal to play jazz music during this time period.
It was a place for musicians to play. They created their own place to play here, to check out the competition, and to start making new connections and forming the Edmonton jazz community.
The Yardbird Suite Jazz Club here in Edmonton is one of the oldest jazz clubs in Canada. It opened in 1957, making it one of Canada's longest standing and operational jazz clubs.
I've got this Polaroid snapshot in my brain of sitting on my dad's shoulders at the back of the room, watching late great Senator Tommy Banks and one of his big bands. But I was raised in this culture, seeing this as a very important cultural icon. So I have only worked here as executive director for about 18 months, and I'm still thrilled that when I got that job here, because to me, this is a part of my family's history. My parents dated here.
Besides being an iconic jazz club, it is also home to a program called Little Birds. This program aims to launch the next generation of jazz players by coaching students and providing a space for them to tap into their musical talents. One of the things that sets apart Yardbird Suite is that the venue is completely run and maintained by volunteers. The venue runs with 4 to 6 volunteers during shows from September to June and relies on memberships and donations as it is a nonprofit. Though Yardbird Suite has set its roots here in Edmonton, it has hosted many famous jazz players from around the world. Just recently, Yardbird Suite invited Kinva, also known as Chocoladi, a traditional ethnic jazz Ukrainian band, to play their new album in hopes to continue to raise support and awareness for the war in Ukraine.
For us, jazz music, it's our life. We every time live with this music, and this music helping to us to be who we are and travel and play. So this is like our music. This music like our religion.
Band members Anastasia Latvinik
and her partner Igor Haydn had to leave behind one of their members as he was enlisted to fight in the army. The pair fled with their young daughter to Poland, where they met bass player Roman Kraniak to record Kinva. Countless artists have started their careers at Yardbird and continue to come back to play whenever the opportunity presents itself. Throughout the years, Yardbird Suite continues to evolve and give back to their community through the gift of music. The Jazz Club has seen the rise and fall of many iconic Edmonton and international artists, all while surviving the trials and tribulations of a global pandemic.
Even COVID couldn't kill the music scene here in Edmonton. Yardbird Suite continues to prove that jazz will never die. With NAIT NewsWatch Extra, I'm Sienna Shernansky.
When it comes to how to spend a night out in Edmonton, you have a lot of choices, but one of the funniest is catching some local stand-up comedy. But one thing we don't often think about is what makes someone wants to try stand-up in the first place? Or Adam Dalke took a closer look at what kind of person would be willing to turn themselves into a laughing stock.
Thanks, guys. So behind me is the Grindstone Theatre, one of many local comedy clubs here in Edmonton. If you're looking for something to laugh at on a Friday night, this is the place you come to. It's also the place you come to if you're looking to get laughed at, which is sometimes harder than you think it would be.
So I was in Dawson Creek a little while ago. I love places like Dawson Creek and Fort St. John, places like that, like places that look like you could make a good living selling clean pea to pipeliners. Okay, got a lot of desk jobs in the room tonight.
This is how well most open mic nights go. Some half-hearted laughs surrounded by mostly silence. With how demoralizing this kind of feedback is, it kind of makes someone wonder, why would you go in day after day after day to try and be a stand-up comic when this is what you get? I mean, who would even want to be a stand-up comedian?
Hey, I'm Will Hannigan. I'm a stand-up comedian.
Will has been a stand-up comedian for the past 9 years, first starting on the East Coast before moving out west to Edmonton. With nearly a decade of experience under his belt, there's almost no one better to talk about what brings someone back to stand-up year after year.
You have to have like one priority. What drives a passion is like whatever the spark or whatever the thing that drives me to love stand-up. The habits, and then the habits create consistent presence, creates opportunities, or at least makes you available for opportunities. I remember when I first saw stand-up when I was like young, like 8 or 9. My aunt had cable, and when I would stay with her on some weekends, I would watch the little TV in her room, and Channel 42 had comedy on it. I wasn't like obsessed with anything the way I was with stand-up, and so yeah, it was the first thing that I had ever felt my own duty to do.
I pointed at the vape, and the guy looked at me and he was like, huh, you haven't heard? I was like, I haven't heard what? And he was like, you haven't heard the rumors? I was like, oh, I don't read Vape Culture Weekly.
I used to make my friends laugh. I would tell stories and like, especially in university, we'd all eat in the same table at the same cafeteria, and basically I would come back from everyone would be coming back from their days in class, and then I would talk about my day and try to make them laugh, and then I went up and I just mumbled everything. I mumbled everything, and couldn't really get many words out. And like I was mumbling and as I was so scared, and I got one joke out, one joke that got a laugh, and the laugh I got from it was this like relief laugh of like finally something that resembles a joke. I asked my friends what they thought, and they were like, that was terrible. It's hard to describe in any other terms than just like a duty. Like you just have to go do that. You just kind of have to. I don't know how else to describe other than you are obliged to do it. You must.
Scotland and Canada have a vast history together that roots as far back as the 18th century. Today, Canadian Scottish culture is alive and well with bagpipes, folk music, and the Highland Games.
But you can't forget about curling. Our Amran Wahidi dives deeper into a century-long rivalry between the two countries.
Thanks, guys. I'm here at the Glen Allen Recreation Complex, where from January to February, rivalries from across the globe heated up our city with the world's oldest international curling event, the 2023 Strathcona Cup. Haggis, bagpipes, and rocky terrain. Scotland's history speaks for itself. This includes the curling world, where Canada has also left its mark. These two countries have been rivals in a little-known but highly coveted contest known as the Strathcona Cup for over 100 years. Each country swaps hosting duties every 5 years, with this tournament that features a West, Central, and Eastern tour from Victoria, BC to St. John's, Newfoundland. In Sherwood Park, this is only one small drop in a big bucket. This historic face-off is also drawing attention from the next generation of curling.
No, it's really cool, and I mean, definitely an honor for all these teams that get to play. Like, I'm super happy just to see the sport still going like this. Like, events like this are kind of what started curling, and obviously, I said it's been going for 100+ years. So, just super happy I got to carry the Canada flag and represent Canada this morning. But no, it's definitely pretty meaningful to still see the sport going like this.
Jackson had a busy February where he represented his province at Nationals in Ontario, then for the Canada Winter Games in PEI. However, he has bigger aspirations for himself.
I really want to go to the Olympics for Team Canada and see if I can win an Olympic medal and go to the Brier and try and win world championships. Like, that's kind of why we train now. So looking a few years down the road, definitely for sure, but that'd be the end goal, is to see if we could win the Olympics.
For Godfrey Hubretz, he's already hit the international stage, representing Canada in 2018. And through a smile, he explains that this is a special opportunity to curl against the Scots, as some players may not get the chance to do it again.
As for us in our club, we only get this opportunity once every 10 years, so it's real special that they're here.
For Brian Yates, a lead for the Scottish team, he hopes the rocks spin his way, but it was some other rocks that stick in his mind from the visit.
Plane ride that we took to Edmonton over the Rockies. And we got a clear day for it. It was spectacular.
While both teams are very respectful off the ice, temperatures heat up the moment they step foot on the ice.
But it's also something that we hope at the end of the day Canada will come out on top.
Of course, Scotland's got the better curlers. Look at Bruce Mowat at the moment, you know.
While these guys have been in a fierce competition for the entire month of February, for over 1,400 curlers, this is bigger than the game.
Absolutely, I think it's all, the event today is about fun and camaraderie and meeting some of our curling friends from across the pond.
It's the friendships, because we've exchanged pins, cards, and from the last tours that I've been told about, some of those Scots and Canadians stay friends for years afterwards, you know. So yes, it will be the friendships that I have made here, which will continue, and hopefully some of the players that we play against just now will come to Scotland in 5 years' time. We'll be able to put them up as well and give them hospitality as good as we've had here.
2 world wars and a couple pandemics hasn't stopped the Strathcona Cup. Now, over 100 years later, it seems like nothing can get in the way.
I think so. It looks pretty fun, get to travel and do all that. Definitely a different experience than we're doing competitive, so I definitely want to do this when I'm older, yeah.
The visitors put up a good fight in Edmonton, but Canada did end up winning the cup after a full tour of almost 30 locations in 85 curling rinks from coast to coast. Each one gave these curling elders from 2 proud nations a chance to compete, but also to celebrate a sport they both love on and off the ice. Amran Wahidi, NAIT NewsWatch Extra.
The Ooks women's hockey team rolled through the season, finishing in 2nd place.
A big part of their success comes from their head coach and his experience and genuine care for his players. But growing up out of the country, how did he end up here at NAIT? Our Nate Fraser has more.
Thanks, guys. I'm here at the NAIT Arena, where women's hockey head coach Brendan Jensen has made this his home away from home. His hockey talents led him across the country, ultimately leading him here at NAIT as the women's hockey head coach. Women's hockey head coach Brendan Jensen is a story that shouldn't have happened. Growing up in El Granada, California, Jensen was known in his coastal community as the hockey kid.
I grew up in beautiful sunny California in a small coastal community that's known more, for surfing and pumpkins and artichokes. And I asked to, go to a Sharks game when I was little, and next thing you know, I was in an in-house league, and from there it was kind of history.
Jensen bounced around from team to team in his junior hockey career, playing back and forth between Canada and the United States. He ultimately decided to stay in Canada and set his sights on the University of Manitoba for the 2014-15 season. After one season in Manitoba, Jensen, unhappy with his program, transfers to become a NAIT Ooks goaltender.
I was a suitcase throughout junior hockey and everything, and then decided that it was probably best to use my schooling money. I actually went to the University of Manitoba first and decided that I liked the program that I was in, and NAIT kind of suited more of my style, that small class size and those environments, and as well as the hockey program. So I transferred here, and then 8 years seems like it was yesterday. So it's played on the men's side, and then now coaching here, it's great.
Winning is one thing Brendan is consistent with. Him and the Ooks won the men's hockey title in 2016, and in his second season with the Ooks, Brendan won Player of the Year along with Best Goals Against Average and the Best Save Percentage. Now he has a chance to win again, but this time behind the bench.
It's pretty fun, to be honest. I think you could ask the ladies to have success in everything. It breeds that infectious thing in the room and then also festers out, and I think pretty fortunate to be in the position I am with the recruiting class that we've had and the previous staffs have brought in to be in the position.
The women's hockey team has a lot of winning qualities, two of them being their star goalie tandem Caitlin Slater and Havana Batke. Lots of their success can be credited to the former goaltender himself.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's the best coach. I like it. It's nice to have a goalie. I've never had a goalie head coach, so it's definitely different coming into last year than the past years I've had, not understanding as much goalie stuff, and he's really good to communicate with, so yeah.
Jensen's passion for coaching stems from his father, as he was the wrestling coach at San Francisco State University. When Brendan was growing up, it installed a mentality to him that it's important to teach the next generation what you know.
So I grew up in that collegiate atmosphere and got to see his interactions daily with his wrestlers and his program and see him grow something, so it all stemmed from him.
Jensen has built a well-respected reputation and a very good hockey team, as the Ooks finished first in the ACAC and are looking to win another championship for the first time since 2015.
He's definitely up there. I've had a lot of coaches in my days, but I've definitely enjoyed having him as a head coach.
The only trophy that Jensen doesn't have is the Women's Championship, but after winning Coach of the Year this year, he could very easily make that a reality. Nate Fraser, NewsWatch Extra.
Well, somehow that's it for our second last show this semester. I mean, I don't know about you, Nora, but I have had so much fun, and I'm so grateful for all the memories we've made over this past year and a half.
Me too, Becca. I can't believe how fast time flew. I appreciate the memories fondly, and I'll cherish the friendships we've made throughout this journey forever.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and good night, everybody.